Hello and welcome to Below the Title. I'm Robert.
And I'm Taylor, and today we're talking about Star Wars, The Rise of Skywalker. Star Wars Episode 9, The Rise of Skywalker, brings to close the sequel trilogy, which started back in 2015 with The Force Awakens, and the whole Skywalker saga, which started 42 years ago with Star Wars. As someone who has grown up with Star Wars his whole life, I can only hope that's true after sitting through that.
Please end it. Apparently not, though.
No, because they're going to put it on hiatus. It's going to go on hiatus for 4 years.
That's not
and
a hiatus.
In those 4 years, we're getting multiple TV shows.
So it's not a hiatus.
So it's not even a hiatus. No. It's just like, hey kids, we're going to have to think for a bit because we kind of shit the bed. We're talking about like, what was the plot? It's been 24 hours.
Yeah.
And I still don't know.
I don't have a clear, concise picture of what it really was. It was really choppy. And
the first hour was really, really choppy, and it felt like this was a 2.5 to 3 hour film, and they've gone, we need more screenings to make all our money back, so let's take half an hour out.
Truncated it.
And just and it feels that it's rushed, and it doesn't give a chance for the characters to even have any character moments. They just walk in and out of each scene, which conveniently just gives them exactly what they need at that time.
Well, that's probably the word of this film, convenience.
Convenience. The rise of convenience.
Rise of convenience.
Basically telling the story of Emperor Palpatine's return from the dead and bringing together the story of who is Rey and Kylo Ren and their strange relationship, and at the same time bringing out lots of reheated goodies to remind you of much better films.
Lots of reheated.
For a 10-minute video, I think this one's going to be a tad longer because that's just how confusing and how much this movie brings up. Overall, what did you think of it?
It's just messy.
Yeah.
It's not
big old mess.
Too many jumps in it. I thought I was doing okay at the start trying to follow it, but I realised I wasn't following it, and then as it got worse as it went on, and I just lost what was going on.
Even though I was watching it all and thinking it was pretty to look at, I had no emotional investment whatsoever.
I was enjoying...
Because you knew what was going to happen. You knew that Rey would save the day in the end, the new Empire or Final Order or whatever they call it was going to be vanquished.
Yeah.
There was no real danger in any of it because it was all just too convenient.
Yeah.
And Kylo achieves the plot of the next hour of the film in the first 2 minutes.
Yeah.
I need this thing. There it is. And he goes there.
Yeah.
And then they're like, we have to find this thing.
So they're trying to find a clue, and then they're being chased, and they happen to crash and survive the crash right on this quicksand pit that they fall through, which I don't know why Rey didn't just use the Force to levitate everyone out. Because
they first show her she's levitating.
She's levitating and all rocks. Anyway, they fall through and then somehow go through into a cavern and literally almost fall onto the piece of evidence that they're trying to find. Oh, here it is.
It's like, oh, here's the Sith dagger.
It's almost comical.
Well, and to get that, you're going to have to wipe 3PO's memory. But don't worry, kids, he'll be back in the last third of the film. They'll just pop him back in there. We'll give you a beat where he'll be like, oh, like he's sacrificing, but
pleased to meet you.
He'll be back.
What are you doing there, 3PO?
Taking one last look, sir, at my friends.
And that's how the information in this movie is so delicately handled. It's just...
And
get it on to the next bit. Get into the next action beat. And it is a non-stop action beat. Like, it moves too fast and covers a lot of shit as it does a massive course correction from The Last Jedi and also tries to attempt to wrap this thing up. Yeah. On top of one of your main actors dying just before the second one got released. I mean, originally it was very Leia-centric.
Yep.
And unfortunately, Carrie Fisher had passed.
Well, it's clear that they were, trying to... Well, they didn't have too much to work with. And I'm glad they didn't try and do too much with her. Because if they'd tried to recreate her digitally, it would have probably looked a bit. But too much. Like, if they'd gone too far with it, it would have stood out, whereas they kept her back a little bit, which I think it was actually one of the better things that they were restraining on.
But I think only because they couldn't.
Yeah.
They stretched that. They manipulated that footage to within an inch of its life. You know they had a little old lady on set with dots all over her face with the footage cut out already going, we're just going to do that.
Yeah.
And they did it really well.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, they did a top-notch job on it.
There's too many holes.
There's a lot of holes.
Yeah. No, well, that's
You know?
Pretty much how JJ does it.
Yeah, they wrote it on a napkin over lunch.
Well, maybe a few napkins, but then some of it got smudged and they had to
all the beers smudged
sort of
parts of the napkins. Oh, fuck, we just lost the second half of Act 2.
Whatever.
That's a story for another time. Like the dagger, which lines up with the Death Star wreckage, just because we're going to get the Death Star in this one.
That was another one of those overly convenient things. They just walk out onto this cliff edge, which by the waves and the storm that's brewing in the water, and it's very calm on the shore. And they just happen to walk to the edge, and she's going, oh, hang on. Ooh, and she gets the knife out. And how did she know that she was going to be standing at the right spot to line it up? Everything just comes back to the Force.
It's the Force.
It's too convenient. The Force.
Do you reckon that when they were writing it, a couple of times they'd go, fuck it, it's the Force?
Well, I reckon, remember in the early films when Obi-Wan would, from Beyond the Grave, would talk to Luke and use the Force. I reckon JJ's had that while he's writing it.
Yeah.
And when he's stuck, I've written myself into a corner. Use the Force.
Oh, yeah, the Force.
How do I get out of this plot hole? Use the Force.
It's the Force. And even in Force Awakens, like Han Solo says, the Force doesn't work like that. But he doesn't even follow his own advice. And then they go to the throne room to get because there's another one of the Who's What's because they made two. Why would you make two? But
you got to back up your stuff.
Oh, you got to have your backup map. And you go in and it's like, oh, it's the throne room from Return of the Jedi, kids. Remember that there's the chair, and they show her looking at the chair. Like, oh, yeah, remember the chair. Even though to her, she never been there.
No.
It's just wreckage.
But she's all of the Jedi.
And she's all of the Jedi. And then she walks in in a wreckage, massive wreckage. A door just magically opens with power, even though it's all trash. And she walks in and it's there.
Well, you wouldn't want to have to search for it.
But it's just like literally.
Oh, that was convenient.
Oh, and she turns around and there's Kylo because Kylo just pops up and then he trashes it. And they have a big fight. This is how they get rid of Leia when she reaches out to him with the Force because they're out of B-roll.
Yeah,
and
so they can cover her with
and it gives
sheet.
a moment where he sparks back and then Rey stabs him and that's the end of Kylo Ren.
He turns on the dark side just too easy.
Well, and the problem with Kylo is after he kills Han, he's an irredeemable character.
Yeah.
He's killed a hero. They kind of tried to give him...
It just seemed too quick.
Yeah.
I don't know. They hadn't thought about that.
No.
Which is just lazy, really.
Oh, it is. It is. Because it's all about the spectacle and the effects, which...
Because one thing about writing that I remember, it was a good sort of advice that I remember hearing about writing is it's okay to have a coincidence get you into a bad situation, but it's not good to have a coincidence get you out of a bad situation.
Yes,
coincidence can happen, but you've got to
your solution should be earned rather than given.
Just all of a sudden,
and
the Force.
It's just the Force, and then they're like, we have to find this thing, and it conveniently forgets that he's already got one.
He's already got it
until it's like, oh wait a moment, look what's in the glove box. It just doesn't.
Yeah, that was all very convenient. That. Just all of a sudden, you have everything you need. And it's like, the glove box. Oh.
I was waiting for it. She's like, have everything you need. Pulls out a brick and there's Leia's lightsaber. And then she's like, I don't have a shit. But he goes, boom, and kicks a wall and there's like a TIE fighter. Wait a minute. Instead, they just pulled an X-Wing out.
It wasn't far off that.
It wasn't far off
a few little bits of seaweed. And
well, they were doing that. They were homaging the scene in Empire where Narada did it and he couldn't do it. And
But that hadn't been underwater for that long.
No, because Rey's parents have finally answered in this one.
Yeah.
And Rey's a Palpatine. Huh? I was thinking about this afterwards. The timeline. How old's Rey? Rey's about what, 20?
Yeah.
Which means the father, Emperor's son, would have been what, 20 to 30 years old?
Yeah.
So, which means the Emperor fathered a child while being all absolute power. Huh? Oh, that's right. You didn't have a plan. You just went, we need a name. She can't be a Kenobi.
Well, they had to have some sort of big reveal because you had, I am your father in the original trilogy.
But that had weight.
Yeah.
It kind of doesn't make sense. The Emperor's grand plan, he changes it in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
Because he's like, you're going to strike me down and I'm going to jump in your body and rule as Empress.
Yeah, he's trying to get her to kill him. So, and then then all of a sudden it's like, oh, haha, now I'm strong again.
And then he goes zap and goes, wait a moment, my fingers are coming back. And then goes, and then it was I am, and then just a stupid, like, let's cross the streams moment. That's what that was. Don't cross the streams. This is the thing. It's the first 6 Star Wars movies. It's all about Anakin Skywalker. He's the chosen one who's going to bring balance to the Force. And he does at the end of Return of the Jedi when he kills Palpatine, who plummets down this massive pit, explodes in an energy ball, and then the massive planet space station around him explodes. And he still survives. They needed to have a shot of the Death Star in the background going, and him flying through space going, away from it.
Holding his breath.
It would have been better than nothing. Okay, the Emperor's been pulling the strings the whole time. He created Snoke and the First Order. So if you were going to do, this is what I thought last night. I thought if you're going to be, I'm going to, everyone thinks I'm dead and I'm going to spend 30 years on a big robotic arm. Repeatedly cloning myself or something, dimly lit, like pay your power bill, you cheap old bastard.
Get some light.
And then I'm going to be all surreptitious about it and go out with a Force that looks just like the one I had before.
Yeah, he's not really fooling anyone.
Like it just. Okay, I could have gone with that, but if they had planned it from the get-go, which they didn't, there would have been more hints of that all the way through it.
Yeah.
But there weren't. It was just bang.
Well, I guess that proves that they didn't really think about it before.
No. Rian Johnson came along. Glorious bastard, in a way. He went into this mega machine Disney and went, you know what? I'm going to throw a spanner in your works. And he threw everything under the bus in the second film. They'd set all this stuff up, which could have made a perfectly servable trilogy. And then he came in and just fucked everything.
Yeah, a lot of this film is trying to...
Yeah, and the lightsaber bit. It's just an apology for the previous film.
Yeah.
And this has too much of that in it.
Well, again, if they were sort of editing it in post, trying to make it work and just cutting bits out, and it just got too messy. I just think they really didn't plan it out.
No, well, it's been all put together by committee.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of these films, not just this one, but a lot of these type of films just really feel like they're made by a committee. No longer are the days where you have a director who has a vision and this is their vision and they see it through and it isn't good, but at least it's their vision. Now it's by committee and it doesn't have any focus. And they're spending too much time trying to, especially with this one, put too many references into the series and to the old films, Ewoks and
at the end, even though all the ships are off in this massive space battle after the rebels somehow win, we don't actually see all the ships get blown up because you never know how many there are. And then it cuts to Bespin with a Star Destroyer falling behind it, and the only reason that's there, it's, hey kids, look, it's Bespin. And then it cuts to Wicket. I think it might have been Wicket on Endor looking at another ship. Where are these ships coming from? Why are they not in the battle? Who the fuck blew them up? Who cares? Look, kids, it's Wicket.
It reminded me of Independence Day.
Yeah, without the charm. Yeah, it had moments of that in it. And it was for no other reason than to put more touchstones for people to go, oh, remember those better movies when they had a plot?
Yeah, to try and hide the fact that this one doesn't.
When they announced Billy Dee was coming back. Billy Dee. But the way they've already treated all the other ones, it's not going to be great. Now, I think they actually managed to pull him off with the most grace. The man is 82 years old and he doesn't move around much.
No.
And he either stands there with a cane quickly or he's sitting down. Then when later on in the film, he's flying the Falcon, they only show him from here up. You see no hands on controls. You don't see it. And he's just like going, ah, ha, ha, ha. Because he's laughing all the way to the bank because they're paying him out to be in this shill of a fucking film. Hey kids, here's Lando. And look, he's Chewie. We don't know what to do with Chewie. And I think halfway through the movie, Chewie realizes that. Because there's a shot where he's sitting like... And it's because he's realized that he has no impact whatsoever on these films anymore, apart from the odd moment where they finally give him a fucking medal.
Yeah, and it's just a throwaway thing.
When it cut to him, it's like... And he went, and it was just like...
And then in the background shot, he's sort of holding it up, dancing around. And so, yeah, without Han in it.
Yeah,
it
was always Han and Chewie.
Yeah.
And the moment they killed Han Solo, they didn't know what to do with Chewie. And so in the last movie, they gave him a Porg. And in this one, they didn't even give him that. Oh, look, Chewie's still playing holo chess. Oh, you cheat. No, he's been playing it for 40 years, you fucking idiots. Of course he's good at it.
Yeah, I think there's too many.
But Poe and Finn are just there.
Too many people in this little circle.
Yeah.
It just diffuses.
Which is a crying shame, because
stories.
Finn in Force Awakens is a really interesting character. He's an ex-stormtrooper. They could have really done something with him. And then the last one came out and they just put him in a side plot that went nowhere. And in this one, it's him and Poe, adventure buddies.
I guess they're trying to break him off to...
try and make him more of into other groups, and to give him, they gave him a potential, look, here's someone who's just like you, and then they all got on horseback and charged up a Star Destroyer.
In space?
In atmosphere? Space? Atmosphere? Yeah, I don't know. It's pretty high up.
Yeah, how did that work?
I mean, you know what? By that point, I'm happy. It's like, it's Star Wars. It's all sorts of magical shit. But
there's lots of other stuff.
All the Star Destroyer needs to do is this.
Bloop. There was lots of other stuff up to that point that I thought I didn't get, but that I think was the biggest point where I just thought, what's going on? This is ridiculous.
Yeah, it was just an excuse to get everybody in it. Yeah, let's get except for the people from the rest of the saga that would have actually brought it together as a thematic whole.
Yeah.
It was just whoever we've got. Yeah. Maz Kanata, she was supposed to be some cool character in Force Awakens, and she had one bit cameo, and in this one she just sits next to Leia.
Yeah.
It's a prime example of this whole thing, is there was so much potential. Like Captain Phasma. They have so much potential to make awesome stuff, but they just constantly...
Yeah.
Like the Knights of Ren, we'll introduce them in The Force Awakens. They look like cool henchmen. I will ignore them in The Last Jedi, and in this one, they're in it for one scene and they get their ass handed to them.
Yeah.
Just missed opportunities. So many missed opportunities put together by lazy corporate filmmaking so they could sell toys and just churn out more and more to make Star Wars Marvel.
Yeah. More content for Disney Plus.
And Disney Plus. Let's bring in someone interesting like Kerry Russell and have her play a bounty hunter type, but give her 2 scenes.
We see her.
You see her eyes, and there was that funny bit with Poe towards the end when he was sort of like, and she's like, he's like, oh, okay.
Every film seems to be doing that now. The guy trying to get with the girl and the...
Bumblebee did it brilliantly, though. That was awesome. Oh, yeah? Oh, we're not there yet. I'm just like, yeah, we should have more of that, because it's changing up. There was one thing in this movie that whenever he came on screen, I went, hey, which was Richard E. Grant.
He was good. Well, he's one of those actors.
If you need, like, he's a Grand Moff Tarkin type, and he's awesome in it. Every time he was on screen, I was like, cool. And also having a chuckle because there was Withnail as an Imperial officer. If you hurt me, it'll be murder. Now that the saga is complete, how are you feeling?
I really don't care. It's not... Yeah, it hasn't lived up to what I would have hoped for based on the original films, and it's really gone downhill. These franchises get so huge that I think no matter what you do, you kind of...
You are going to piss off people.
Yeah, you
and
can't
Star Wars
get it
is
right
a 3-generation, because we've watched our generation, and then our generation went with the prequels, but the kids loved them.
Yeah.
And those kids are now watching these ones, probably going, maybe we're all going.
Yeah.
But the kids are going to love it. Well, maybe the next, the youngins today might just see it as vapid crap with the depth of a puddle. An easy way to tell whether I'm into a film or not is normally I'll go into the cinema and buy myself a bottle of water. And
at great expense.
At my great expense. And I always think, how do you people sleep at night? But the 15-year-old behind the counter doesn't care. And I go in and I sit down, and then if I'm into a film, I will often forget I even have a drink. If I'm not, it's a good way to show how invested I am with what's going on screen. Ladies and gentlemen, The Rise of Skywalker.
Mine's empty, but it's not quite crushed, but it's still empty.
Much like The Rise of Skywalker. If I was going to give it out of 10, I'd probably give it a 4, purely for pity for the people who probably work so hard, on this thing, because it's a spectacle. Man, John Williams' score.
Yeah, I mean, it's got a lot of the usual good points for these sort of films.
Poor Chewie gets a couple of points. He'll get a couple of points because he's in this forever.
Yeah, it wouldn't be too high, maybe 5.
Yeah.
And that's because it's definitely a high quality production and big special effects and visual effects, and from that point of view, it can be enjoyable from that side of things. But it's let down by just the poor, lazy writing and
shoddy corporate filmmaking
Yeah.
at its finest,
Yeah.
which is actually at its poorest.
yes,
But I tell you what, though, I'm out. I'm done. I've loved Star Wars as long as I can remember, but after that, no more.
so you're not going to see any more.
No, I'm done. I cannot. They can have their expanded Disney Plus TV series. Oh, look, kids, we've got Obi-Wan, kids, and this one he looks like Boba Fett, and we've got Baby Yoda. That's what's coming, and it's never going to stop until we stop watching it. So, I'm out.
But if this YouTube channel takes off, won't we have to go and see them all in the future?